Hi, I'm Jofel Balanza and I'm now reporting to the philosophy of Nietzsche. So, our report today has two parts, which is first part is the life of Nietzsche, and the second part was the Nietzsche's philosophy, which is we will tackle by later. So, there's God is Dead, the Apollonian versus Dionysian, master morality versus slave morality, and such. So, let's start with the life of Nietzsche. So, Nietzsche was born in Rocken, Saxony, Germany on October 15, 1844. Nietzsche's father died at when he was 4, and technically he was raised by the household full of women. So, it's his mother, his aunt, and his sisters. At 14, he was sent to boarding school at Forta. Young Nietzsche dominates and was good at classic German, literature, and philology, and all the classics. And then, at October 1864, he went to the University of Bonn. Unimpressed, he only stayed for a year. But he then studied at the University of Leipzig instead, following his teacher in philology and classics, which he respects the most. And Nietzsche was greatly influenced by the main work of Schopenhauer. It greatly influenced him on how to think rationally, to be an anti-rational and being atheist or person who does not believe in God. In 1868, when the University of Basel looking for someone to fill the chair of philosophy, Nietzsche name figured prominently, and at the age of 24, he was appointed as a university of professor at the University of Basel. The university conferred his doctoral degree without the need of examination. Later that year, he delivered his inaugural lecture on Homer and classical philology. At the age of 34, due to the poor health, he resigned on professorship. He wandering through Italy, Germany, Switzerland, searching where he might restore his health or make a cure for his poor health. So, now, let's take a look at Nietzsche's published work. From gaining an inspiration and influences on various people that he looks up to, especially Wagner, Nietzsche later wrote his first book and later on followed by other literary works, on and on. So, his first work was The Birth of Tragedy from the Spirit of Music, which was published by 1872. And then it came up with another books year per year, namely The Dawn of the Day, Joyful Wisdom, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil, A Genealogy of Morals, and many more. In 1888, where he was 44, during his sickness, he produced 5 books in span of 6 months, which is namely The Case of Wagner, The Twilight of the Idols, Antichrist, Ichi Homo, and Nietzsche contra Wagner. And in 1889, Nietzsche collapsed in the street of Turin when he was riding a horse. He was sent to an asylum in Basel with the care of his mother and sisters. For 11 years, Nietzsche remains. He was irretrievably insane as a result of an infection that has affected his brain, resulting to his unfinished major work. So now, let's go to the next part of Nietzsche's philosophy. Uh, his first philosophy was the famous God is dead. He says, God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. Absurd as it may sound, Nietzsche believes that with the drastically declination of Christian beliefs was the main factor in how he concluded that God is dead. Yes, people killed God themselves because they do not believe in him. Their faith of God is declining due to many factors as how religious faith affects the evolution of science, or science was dominant against faith. So Nietzsche also argues that religion was in itself was a facade, a safe zone of belief to save people from the fear of what the world offers. Nietzsche believed that the death of God opens new horizon, or a new dawn, or a new day that unshackled people from the life-denying fundamentals of faith. So, the next philosophy of Nietzsche was the Apollonian versus Dionysian. In this sense, Nietzsche believed that because of aesthetic, there are two fused principles that he named after two Greek gods, which is namely Apollo and Dionysius. So let's take a look at the attitude or the characteristic of an Apollonian. So Nietzsche notes that the Apollonian is associated with order, rationality, and harmony, which embodies the ideals of beauty, logic, and restraint. It emphasizes structure and clarity, promoting a sense of individuality and intellectuality. Nietzsche saw the Apollonian as a crucial for civilization, as it provides the necessary framework for moral and social order. Now, let's take a look at the characteristic of a Dionysian according to Nietzsche. The Dionysian is characterized by chaos, passion, instinct, and it embodies ecstasy, sensuality, and the primal forces of life. Now, in our Nietzsche viewed the Dionysian as essential for true creativity and vitality, as it allows individuals to break free from societal constraints and connect with their primal instincts. So, now, let's proceed to the next philosophy of Nietzsche, and this was also the most famous one. Nietzsche, there is master morality and slave morality. Now, let's not make ourselves harder to understand these concepts. Master morality develops from a high caliber called the noble, or those powerful people in society, the aristocrats, that often celebrates strength and life affirmation. So, in this case, a master pe- people that have master morality uh, over dominates in society, which now they are known that govern to lead and mostly governs the weak in the society. Now, the opposite one is the slave morality. In contrast of the latter, this morality develops from the lower people of society, the slave, the oppressed, and the weak. To them, they refer good as the qualities serve to alleviate or help them, the existence of sufferers, which is them. And then there is the herd mentality. The herd mentality succeeded to overthrow the master morality as something evil, making it out as vices and all the weak quality viewed as virtues. So yeah, right. It's ironically right. So values and ideals in society such as peace and equality, noting as the fundamental principles of societies, was argued by Nietzsche as guise and not societal desire of the weak to undermine the power of the strong. So now, let's take a look at the will of power. So Nietzsche said, the strongest and highest will to life does not find expression in a miserable struggle for existence, but in a will to war, a will to power, and a will to overpower. So let's take a look for the possible explanation for this philosophy. Nietzsche posits that will to power is the fundamental driving of human beings. It transcends mere survival of reproduction, suggesting that individuals are primarily motivated by desire to assert and enhance their own power and influence. So, it creates self-overcoming. The will to power is not merely about domination over others, it also encompasses self-overcoming and creativity. Nietzsche believes that individuals should strive to overcome their limitation, continuously transforming themselves under circumstances. So yeah, right. The will to power is like important in us being ourselves. And next was the reevaluation of all morals. So, if there's a will to power, there is also a reevaluation of morals. Nietzsche believes that people morality is not an ideal for a society that he viewed. So, there, there was the need of changing the morality of people, the change of their beliefs. This philosophy only emphasizes to declare a war on the present accepted values of society such as virtues and other beliefs. It is because he believes that these are devoiding the true meaning of life. This notion also implicates that people should think independently, challenging the morals constructed by religious and secular moral system. Yes. And by doing revelation of all morals, it is championing the very idea of existential freedom. Freedom, the idea that individuals have the power to shape their own destiny. So unshackled from the other life-denying forces that uh, shackles them. So identifying and recognize your own moral makes you to have your own will of power and deemed to be dominant, promoting strength and creativity, thus transcends to be a Ubermensch or to be a super person. And now, let's go to our next topic, the last, the super person or the Ubermensch. Taking back to the notion of Nietzsche to the will of power, one can become an Ubermensch. So if you have a will of power, the power to be yourself and to challenge the norms in society, to challenge the created values and virtues of how society works, you can become an independent person, be a super person. If you have the quality and attitude to continuously ascend and cultivate individual potential and personal empowerment. As Nietzsche rejects the idea of equality, he begins to posit that if one can overcome the idea of societal norms, which I said earlier, to create his own moral beliefs, he can be a super person, a human evolution as they say. You can be superior to any one of their weak qualities. A super person embodies the highest level of development emotionally, physically, intellectually, and embodiment for the spontaneous affirmation of life. He also affirmed that creation of Ubermensch was not intentionally to create a tyrant or an totalitarian bully, but rather a type of person who can control his own will, a hero to be exact that might be a great leader. And that's all. Thank you.